All right, let's dive into something a little spicy,
Mm,
workplace romance. We're going to be talking about attraction and relationships and,
all the drama.
all the drama that
Yeah,
can happen at the office.
exactly.
You've sent us a bunch of research on this topic, so let's get to it.
Sounds good.
Maybe you're preparing for a big meeting with HR,
Yeah,
or maybe you're just fascinated by the idea of love at the office. Either way, we're covering it today.
it's a good one. Yeah.
So we're going to be taking a look at a 1996 research article titled Attraction in Organizations, a Model of Workplace Romance by Pierce, Braun, and Agonis.
A Guinness.
Agonis.
Like the beer.
Like the beer.
Yeah.
So how do these researchers define workplace romance?
Well, they focus on heterosexual relationships where there's mutual sexual attraction between two people working for the same organization. Okay, so we're not talking about just casual friendships or,
Right, like work
okay,
spouse.
work spouses, right?
Yeah.
It has to be that spark, that chemistry,
Yeah. But it doesn't have to be, you know,
full-blown love.
yeah, head over heels.
Right.
Right.
It can range from liking to, various types of deeper connections.
Yeah.
And actually, they use Sternberg's triangular theory of love
Oh, yeah. I remember that one.
to illustrate the spectrum.
Yeah, with intimacy, passion, and commitment.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you could have colleagues who enjoy working together and
Yeah.
share values and find each other attractive, and that might be a strong liking,
Mm.
or even edging into,
Romantic love.
yeah, romantic love.
Yeah.
But on the other side of the spectrum,
Yeah.
you could have this whirlwind office romance that's fueled by passion, and then they immediately commit.
Yeah, fatuous love.
Fatuous love.
Yeah.
That's the one. Yeah.
Which might lack that deeper long-term intimacy.
Yeah, it's fascinating how different those two situations can be,
For sure.
even though they both, fall under this umbrella of workplace romance.
Exactly.
And the factors that lead to these romances are just as interesting.
Oh, absolutely.
So what makes people fall for their coworkers?
Well, proximity plays a huge role.
Obviously.
Yeah, I mean, studies show we're more likely to develop feelings for people we interact with often.
Yeah.
So think about it. Same office, same building, running into each other all the time.
Yeah, you're bound to at least learn each other's coffee orders.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's not just about physical closeness, though.
Okay.
Functional proximity matters, too.
Okay.
So working in similar roles or collaborating on projects, those kinds of things.
Those shared experiences
Right.
can also lead to attraction.
So it's not necessarily being physically close, but it's more about having those regular interactions, those shared experiences.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
The power of repeated exposure. So this can actually amplify attraction,
Really?
even if the interaction itself is limited.
So you're saying that just seeing someone regularly, even without talking to them very much,
Right.
can make them more attractive?
Yeah.
That's crazy. It is. It's like this psychological thing.
Yeah.
Our brains kind of develop a preference for things that we see over and over again.
That makes you wonder if HR is like accidentally playing matchmaker by putting people with similar interests on the same teams.
Right.
Like they didn't mean to do that, but
Yeah, it's not something they usually advertise.
yeah.
But yeah, it's an interesting thing to consider.
So we've got proximity, we've got repeated exposure.
Mm-hmm.
What other things are there?
Well, shared values and attitudes
Okay.
play a significant role, and organizations often hire people with similar mindsets,
Right.
which creates a pool of, potentially compatible partners.
So the workplace itself can kind of be
A breeding ground
a breeding ground, yeah.
for relationships.
For relationships, wow.
And there's even some evidence
Yeah.
that positive feedback from a supervisor
Oh.
can increase liking.
So you're telling me that a good performance review can lead to
Maybe.
something more?
I mean, who knows?
I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, it adds another layer to the whole thing.
Yeah, for sure.
But of course, office romances aren't just about the initial spark.
Right.
There's all sorts of implications to consider.
Right. So now that we know what causes these romances, let's talk about the impact.
Okay.
Does it affect productivity?
That's the big question.
Yeah. Does it hurt or help?
Well, the research offers some interesting
Okay.
and sometimes conflicting insights.
Okay. So it's not a simple answer.
No, not really.
Okay.
Some studies show that teamwork and motivation actually increase
Okay.
when colleagues are romantically involved.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
If you enjoy working with someone and being around them, it doesn't feel like work as much.
exactly. But then other studies highlight
Okay.
the potential for distractions.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's hard to focus when you're,
Looking across the room.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all about balance, I guess.
Right.
And then on top of that, the stage of the romance
Okay.
could actually influence productivity.
So tell me about this stage theory.
Okay, well, so in the early stages, when everything's exciting,
Yeah.
you might be a little less focused on work tasks.
Yeah, all the butterfly.
Yeah, exactly.
These stolen kisses.
But as the relationship matures,
Okay.
there could be a renewed interest in work, a desire to impress or provide for their partner.
So it's not just about whether there is romance,
Right.
but also like where that romance is
Exactly.
in its life cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So what about morale?
Well, morale's another tricky one.
Okay.
Some argue that office romance can boost spirits, make a more positive work environment.
Okay.
But hierarchical romances,
Okay.
so like boss-subordinate relationships,
Yeah.
often cause tension, jealousy.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Because it just seems like favoritism.
Exactly. And then you've got the office gossip.
Oh, the gossip.
Right. And so the research suggests that
Yeah.
the tone of the gossip depends on the perceived motive
Okay.
for the romance.
Okay.
So if it's genuine affection, people are more understanding. But if they think it's about, like, moving up the ladder or getting a lighter workload, then it's a different story.
So love is a better excuse than ambition when it comes to office romance.
Yeah, apparently.
Okay, so what about the management side of things?
Yeah, so from a management perspective,
Yeah.
office romance can be a real headache,
Okay.
especially with issues like promotions, relocations, even terminations.
Let's unpack those. Let's start with promotions.
Okay, so with promotions, the big fear is favoritism,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
If a manager is romantically involved with someone they supervise, there's always that worry they'll get preferential treatment.
Whether they deserve it or not.
Exactly. And even if the promotion is deserved,
Yeah.
it might not be perceived that way.
Right. It creates this lose-lose situation where the staff resent it
Yeah.
and it puts the manager in this impossible position.
Right.
What about relocations?
Yeah, sometimes relocations are used as a solution to separate the couple and minimize disruptions. But often this unfairly targets the lower status partner,
Yes.
who is typically the woman.
Yeah. So that doesn't seem fair.
Right. Raises questions of fairness and potential gender bias.
That's like the company trying to sweep the problem under the rug instead of addressing it.
Exactly.
And then in some cases, companies even resort to
terminations.
Wow.
Yeah, with the less essential employee.
And again, probably the woman.
Right, often the woman at greater risk.
So we've been focusing on a 1996 study. How much has the workplace changed since then?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
The workplace has evolved so much, especially with remote work and virtual teams.
Yeah.
So now physical proximity might be less of a factor.
Right.
But we see new forms of digital proximity.
So like frequent video calls.
Yeah, instant messaging.
Working on documents together online.
Exactly. And those digital interactions can create intimacy and connection even without being physically present.
It's like a whole new world of office romance. It is. What are some other changes we've seen since this study came out?
Well, there's been a growing awareness of power dynamics, the importance of consent in the workplace.
Yeah.
And we can't forget about the emphasis on diversity and inclusion.
Right.
All of these factors need to be considered when companies develop policies around workplace relationships.
So it sounds like companies need to find new ways to address this issue.
They do.
Yeah.
It's not about banning it or ignoring it.
Right.
They need to be proactive, create a culture of respect and professionalism while acknowledging that people are human.
Right.
And sometimes sparks fly at work.
Especially at work.
Yeah, exactly.
This has been such a fascinating conversation.
It has.
Office romance is a complex issue.
It really is.
With no easy answers.
Nope.
But it's not going away anytime soon.
Not at all.
And it deserves careful consideration.
Absolutely.
So to our listener, if you're dealing with office romance yourself, or if you're in HR and you're like trying to come up with policies, it's all about communication.
Exactly.
And empathy.
You have to recognize that it's going to happen.
It happens.
People are going to fall for each other at work.
Exactly.
You need to find ways to manage it responsibly.
Right. So we've covered a lot today.
We have.
From like the psychology of attraction to the organizational challenges of managing relationships.
It's a lot.
And this 1996 research gives us a good foundation. But clearly the conversation's not over.
Not even close.
And the workplace is going to keep evolving.
Oh, yeah.
So will the nature of these relationships.
It makes you wonder, right?
Yeah.
How is technology going to change things?
Right.
Social norms, even the 4-day work week? How will that affect love at work?
Maybe that's something we can talk about in the future.
I'd like that.
But for now, we hope this deep dive has given you a new way of thinking about workplace romance.
A fresh perspective.
Yeah,
It's complicated.
it is. But also...
It's always there. Yeah, people are always going to be drawn to each other.
Exactly. So whether you're looking for love
Mm-hmm.
or just trying to deal with the office drama,
A little understanding goes a long way.
absolutely. Thanks for joining us.
Of course.
And to our listener, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into workplace romance.
Until next time.
Happy diving!